Good YouTube, Quinn Wade coming to y'all with that what to expect season preview and projection, possibly prediction analysis. This time is on the Washington Wizards, a team that has been taking a lot of players and trying to figure out who to keep and who not to keep, and trying to put veterans around some of their young players to help their work ethic, to help their understanding, and to help their game. Problem is, they won 18 games last year with that theory, winning 15 the year before, and now they're trying to find a way to develop their young talent on both ends of the court. And their roster is very, very, very interesting. And I do expect them to lose a whole lot. But I do like the people that they have on this roster to a certain extent, like Cam Whitmore. Thought that was a good pickup. With his upside, he's only 21 years old and already came into the NBA giving you double figures. Coming into making close to double figures with 9.4 points per game in the year before that, which was his rookie year. He gave you 12. The 3-point shooting is possibly going to be there. The ability to get to the free throw line is going to be there. He's a solid rebounder, and he's trying to improve as a playmaker and a passer, especially on the ball and off the ball. Obviously, he only played 51 games. That hurt it. You want to play as many games as you can to prove the player that you are and show the whole NBA the player that you are, even if it's for your own benefit or the team. But he actually did start a couple times in his career, 5 total games. I do think his minutes will be way significantly higher on the Wizards than it was on the Rockets. He only played 16 minutes and 18 minutes for the Rockets in 2 seasons. And I think he definitely going to be in the 20s to 30s, because he has to show how good of a player he is. And he has to show that he can really be a good fit with the guys that's already on this roster. But he does feel a glaring need, which is 3-point shooting and scoring and transition, and he does those things amazingly. And I think he would do those things for the Wizards and more. That's why they took a chance on him. That's why they traded for him, because he had upside, and he should be happy to get the opportunity to play with a team like the Wizards because they allow him to do that. There's a lot of guys like Alex Sarr too, where we see the potential, we see what he can be. A two-way floor spacing big, that can block shots, that can finish around the rim, that can hit a three, that's too fast and too quick, that can get to the dunker spot and finish strong, and also move the ball without having it too long. Because he's a guy that if he has a shot, he has it. If he doesn't stick with the ball, which is always good. But Alex Sarr does have the height, 7 feet. He doesn't have the strength at 205 if he's going to play center or power forward, honestly. But he does have the quickness. He's so fast and he's so quick that he can beat you to spots. He can beat you to opportunities, even if you're trying to block him. He's just so long and so fast that he can score fast, doing it that way too. So I like what he does. I like what he's been showing. The offensive end, I think, gonna take more work for him because it still seems like he's still trying to figure out how to shoot consistently. It still seems like he's trying to figure out when to shoot, when to space, when to attack the paint. Once he gets his mind clear, once he gets his mind made up, once he gets more confident in his body and his play style, then we can probably see him be a 20 and 10 guy or close to it. But right now, a guy that can give you 13 and 6, that's something that you would take because most rookies can't do that in their first season. Although he didn't shoot well from three, he didn't shoot that great from the free throw line, he didn't shoot that great from the field. He started showing a lot of signs to me as the season kept going on, and he even averaged 16 points per game in the month of March, and that's very impressive for him. A guy that has always struggled putting the ball in the basket, and now he's even at more of a disadvantage because of his weight. He still found the way to make things work, and that's what you like about him. Now you got to polish it up. Now you got to bulk up so you can take contact, so you can be able to bump and bang and still be able to finish through. And he understands that. That's why that's been on his agenda to achieve. and now we have to see if he has or he hasn't. But it's also a multi-year project to build him up to the man that he needs to be to help the team get back to winning, which they ain't gonna be doing this year. But it will be fun to see what he becomes. Guys like C.J. McCollum and Chris Middleton, they're on this roster to provide spacing and ball handling. Guys that can get their own shot and use that ability to create shots for others while still being able to play off the ball and hurt you from three, or put the ball on the floor and hit mid ranges, or just make the extra pass once the defense collapses. I think they are good fits, and they make a good example of what you should want to be at that age of your career, especially if you want to be able to have longevity. And I think those guys have figured it out. They know their game, they know their style, they know what they're supposed to do no matter who's out there with them. And I think that that's a valuable thing to have guys like that on this roster, and it's good to have them. And I know it makes a whole lot of sense for them to be on this roster for those reasons that I just named. But Corey Kispert, he can shoot the ball real well. Two, they drafted him because he was a three-point shooter in college and high school. He has proven in the NBA that he can do it at the highest level too. Even with a lot of attempts, he has took the least was 4.2 3-point attempts, and he still shot 35%. But ever since then, he's been shooting above 35, and he's been still shooting about 5 attempts or more. And he showed you that he can be a high volume 3-point shooter. He's not the greatest defender, but he can hurt you if you don't stay next to him or stay close to him, because he moves without the basketball to provide spacing, and he's deadly from three from time to time. And he did play 26 minutes. I think he's going to stay around there a little bit more if he can stay healthy. Obviously, he only played 61 games last year. You want him to play more. Last year, before that, he played 80 games. You want him to be in that range. But he also has played 70 games a couple times in his career also, which was his rookie and sophomore years. If you can't get to 80 or more, obviously you want to play in the 70s. Hopefully he can be able to do that. He's a guy that has averaged the double figures in the NBA 3 straight seasons, showing you that he belongs in the NBA, and he's a valuable player for the Washington Wizards, and he provides exactly what they need. And he also helps out on the boards from time to time, and he's also just an unselfish guy. And that's a good part when guys are growing and guys are trying to figure out their game in the NBA. It's good to have guys that can back them up and help their jobs be a little easier, and that makes them feel a lot better. They do it for Corey Kispert. Obviously, you want him to return a favor too. And like I said, guys like Sarr and Bagley, they're gonna have to set screens to get these guys open. Anthony Gill probably gonna have to do a little bit of that too. Guys like Dylan Jones and Trey Johnson and AJ Johnson and Keyshawn George and Justin Champagnie and Bub Carrington, especially Bub, he's still figuring out how to score. He's still figuring out when to pass. He's still figuring out how to read the flow and how to get a flow of offense to go and how to get it to pop. And he showed some improvements last year from high school and college into the NBA. He has good size for his position, 6'4", 190 pounds. He's still showing signs that he can be a mid-range shooter. He's still showing signs that he can be a potential decent three-point shooter. He has shot 81% from the free throw line, but didn't get there enough. He needs to increase his handling. He needs to increase the ability to create separation. And then obviously you just need to be able to make your opponent pick how they want you to score. And then you have to be prepared and confident to take advantage of those situations and knock down shots. And that's how perimeter players eat. And that's how perimeter players have to play. I like how you rebounded very well for the guard position, and also still is learning how to be a playmaker. And he showed a lot of positive signs in that regard. But Justin Champagnie, you just want him to be a shooter and a floor spacer and a guy that can, get out in transition and hurt the players. Bilal Coulibaly is their guy that's a project also. He has shown a lot of signs that he can be athletic and be able to get to the rim. He has shown signs that his handling has increased. His court awareness has increased. His IQ of how to take advantage of situations has gotten better. This is only going to be his third season. He still needs to know how to score better and how to be able to use his body better to be able to do that, especially when it's tough, when you can't shoot, especially from three. and you can't shoot from mid range or get to the basket consistently. I think that's been one of his problems and something he's got to continue to work on unless he's just going to be a role player. Even if he's that, you still want him to be a guy that can be a threat. He shows that he can get backdoor cuts. He shows that he can get out in transition. He needs to continue to do that because that's still ways to score points, and that's still ways to feel good about yourself. But when you shooting the way he's shooting with the body that he has, you know he needs to get stronger. You know he needs to get smarter. You know he needs to be more patient when reading the defense and how they're trying to stop him from getting to the rim or getting buckets in general. It is an improvement to go from 8 points to 12 points. He did get way more minutes, which is 33. They're involving him more. They're trusting him more. They believe that he can be a good decision maker in the future, even if it's just a better scorer. We'll see if he can continue to put in the work to reach that goal. But it is fun to watch him play a little bit because he's showing you that he has a little bit of stars um, in his body. We can see that star syndrome in his body. We'll see if he's able to make it come true in the future. But he's off to a decent start in his career for a player that was a project coming into the NBA. We knew that he had the body. We knew that he was going to take some work on skill and body, and it's going to take a couple years to produce, some great results. And we just have to be patient with him. Keyshawn George, I actually like. Uh, well, I should say Keyshawn George. I actually like him. Didn't shoot the ball that well from the field or from three. He does have a legitimate size and quickness. He does need to continue to perfect that outside shot and ability to score off the ball. And then that will open up a little bit of his dribble game. That will open up his ability to score when it comes to drives or just try to make quick decisions, even if that comes with scoring. He was able to get to the free throw line, was okay there. You would like to see slight improvement there. The better he shoots from the free throw line, the better he's going to be confident in his jump shot, even from the three-point line. The rebounds are going to be there for him. He just has to go out there and grab them. And then transition, he needs to take advantage of those opportunities to the best of his ability. And like I said, he does need to be a guy that you can throw the ball to and he can knock down a shot. Another guy they took a gamble on was Malachi Branham. He's a solid player. 6'4", 180 pounds, got an NBA body for the guard position. He's on his second team now, 22 years old. The Spurs held on to him as long as they could because they knew he can be a productive player. He'll have more minutes for the Wizards than he obviously had for the Spurs. So you're going to probably get double figures from him. He's going to probably be a sixth man of the year candidate like he proved his rookie year. He didn't start a lot of games. Well, 32 is a lot, I guess, but he played 66. His second year, 75 games played, 29 started. I think he's going to have a little bit of that with the Wizards, where if McCollum or somebody goes down, he's going to get a lot more minutes because he's going to be one of their better perimeter players and one of their better ball handlers. And even if he's not, they still going to rely on him for that reason because he has upside, and they might want to keep him in the future because they know they're not going to keep a guy like CJ forever because he's almost in his 40s, and Branham is about 10 years younger at this point. He did shoot 45 from the field on 4 attempts. When he shot 8 attempts and 9 attempts, he still shot around that range, which shows you that he can be a high volume scorer. He also shot 40% from 3. Can't really trust it because he didn't do that the first 2 years of his career, but he wasn't that terrible at it either. And he showed that he can be a decent free throw shooter when he gets there. And then he also showed that he can be a guy that can be a ball handler from time to time to be able to create his own shot. And you have to like that about him. And they didn't really give up too much to get him. So it does make sense to make that move to get a guy like him because the roster does need it. Anthony Gill, he's an older guy, 32 years old. I don't think he's going to play that much. I don't think he's going to do that much for this roster, just like he's been doing the last couple years for the Wizards. I don't think that role is going to change. You just want them to have that next man up mentality to come in and just be able to make plays and shots. Obviously, A.J. Johnson, 20 years old, not going to be able to do much right now in his career. Very young. He did play a couple seasons already, but didn't play that much his rookie year. And then he ended up playing more when he got to Washington. and then he didn't really show, that he's a great player or a good player. He showed that he needs a lot of work, especially from three and from the field when it comes to creating shots and trying to play your game. He didn't show that he could really do that at a high level, so I think he loses some minutes compared to the new guys that they just brought in last year and this season coming up. Just because he's not ready to be a impact player right now in his career. He doesn't really do too many things great. He doesn't do too many things good. He's doing a lot of things okay or worse. So I want to see his development and see what he can bring to the table this season. If he doesn't play that well, I don't see them keeping him too much long. And then Trey Johnson, he's only 19, so I don't really expect him to bring too much to the table as a rookie. He's not going to be able to score that well. He's not going to be able to shoot crazy just yet. He has a lot of potential. He has a lot of upside. I just don't see that being a factor right away in his career. A lot of people like him. A lot of people think he's going to be really good. I do too, but just not right now. It's a learning curve, and there's a lot of things you have to be able to figure out right away to be a rookie that really makes a difference. And I just don't think he has the type of guys around him to where he can play his game at a high level. I don't think the minutes is going to be available. I don't think the opportunity is going to be there either because of some of the guys that they can have in front of him since they have a lot of guards and a lot of forwards on his roster. I like those players more than I like Trey Johnson, which the coach might do too, who is Brian Keefe.